Hello and welcome to Unexplained Possibilities Podcast. I'm your host, Melvin the Crimson Taurus, and Neema isn't with us this evening. She's at a secret location doing some underground fighting, and she will be back next month for Ladies' Night. However, you guys already know if I'm on for podcasts, then I'm not alone, and tonight is no exception. Returning to the show is one of my favorite witches. You've seen her in chat. You know her from the Cauldron Witch YouTube channel. She's one of the voices behind A Little Brew and a Lot of Tea. Please welcome back to the scene the lovable Scream Queen, Stephanie. So I'm going to blame Stephanie for the tech issues that we.
Do we know? We don't have picture, do we?
I will turn it on in a second. Don't worry.
Oh, okay.
I'm
okay.
in control of
No, I'm
that.
gonna blame you. This is all you. I'm gonna refresh just to make sure. Okay. Good time.
So yeah, I'm blaming Stephanie for the tech issues. She's too magical, and just things went awry. What the heck? Why did that just go off? I have no idea, but an alert just went off. I don't know.
I don't know. I think it said Slim Lewis. Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't see it. Let me check here.
I was flicking you off because you blamed me. That's what I was saying.
Everything is going crazy tonight.
I told you I'm in my altar room and it gets a little harried. It gets a little quick right here.
A little. I mean,
it doesn't like audio in here. Too many spirits.
Oh, now I know why I didn't. Yeah, now and for whatever reason, the Stream Element bot isn't working. But thank you, Slim Lewis. Oh, that was for the tarot reading. That's what that. Thank you so much.
Aw.
Thank you.
Right on, Slim.
So yes, you have come into chaos. But aside from the chaotic evening, how are you doing, Stephanie?
I am doing good. It was a full day. It's a Saturday. Every Saturday, I have my normal spiel with that I work with the spirit. So I have my dedication time. I kind of make a chosen day. You know it is, and then go around and I do my cleansing work, my house cleansing, and all that stuff. And then of course I had spiritual work to do. And then all those that were in the Discord page that actually said me, I did a money candle for. And of course, tonight, after I'm done here, I will be doing a full money ritual for those that are in the academy and anybody who's on my Patreon.
Okay.
Which I don't have anybody right now. It's okay. I am okay with it. Trust me, I just started. I wasn't even sure if I was ever going to do a Patreon. I have people, but they're not in the coven section.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm not worried about it.
No,
but
your
so obviously we're doing it for the academy students. Well, I do it for the academy students.
Okay. Don't worry, your Patreon is going to grow, and normally I would save this towards the end, but where can people actually find that? Because I was looking for a link to it, and I could not find it.
You go to my YouTube channel, go up at the top bar.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the right where it has my website. It has my Instagram, and then it says Patreon. And if you go to my about page, it's on there as well.
Okay.
And then of course I randomly popped it out on Instagram.
Yeah, so I will.
But again, I just started it, so it's okay, Mel. It's okay. I am uploading videos. Like tonight, I'll be uploading the ritual video that I do for the academy students, because if you're part of the Patreon, you get to see that. If you're part of the Cauldron Coven part of it, then you get the money ritual once a month, as well as healing. And if you're the VIP, then you get love and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you get the goodies, the real, But yeah, so later on, I will put that link in the description below with all the other links that
Awesome.
go to you. So,
Awesome.
let's jump into this. People have
Yes.
been waiting. They're like, okay, now tech issues are over. Stop bantering. Get into the main shebang. And,
Yes.
I like asking this question, but I'm going to phrase it a little bit differently for you.
Is it the same one you asked Simona and I in the last one?
I don't know. What did I ask you last time to start?
I don't remember.
Well, then we're
What
in
got
good
you into
hands.
magic? I think it was. What got you into magic?
Yeah, well, it's the same one, but also different. So, were you called into it? Meaning, did you have a choice, or was this going to happen no matter
Sounds
what?
so threatening, Mel. Sounds threatening.
Well,
Nobody held a gun to my head to get in it, if that's what you mean.
no, from spirit, we'll say, because sometimes I hear stories about a deity or something popping up
Mm.
and saying, "No, you're doing this. I'm not going to stop until you're in it, and I will make your life miserable until you say yes." So that's what I
No.
mean by choice. Like, did something just repeatedly happen over and over and over that sort of forced your hand? Maybe not in the extreme of, "Oh my gosh, you're going to hurt me," but an annoyance more so than anything. And it's like, okay, I'm looking into it. Stop now.
Actually, no, that didn't happen. If anybody remembers the last video with Simona and I, for this question, I don't want to rehash the same thing,
Yeah.
but just summing up with the same thing as my mom practiced magic, right? So she was always doing something spiritually, and of course, we spent many of the times in cemeteries and doing seances. So I grew up with this stuff. I may not have sat at the table. Excuse me. I may have not have sat at the table when they were doing the conjuration of the, doing the seances and seeing what spirit was present, or like when my grandmother died and all that good stuff. I may have not been physically sitting at the table, but I was in the other room. Or I would be like kicking it on the floor, and then you would hear somebody knocking on the wall, and you'd be, in this one instance, we would be on the second floor with nobody on that side of the wall, and they would knock on the wall, or you would hear pigs snorting out of the blue, like, it's like, what the hell is that? But my mom did it. It just was, I don't know. It was natural for me. So I can't remember a time when this wasn't the norm. I just didn't spread the love and tell the people at my school that we were into doing this stuff, like when I went to school. Except in high school, you had your couple friends that were, into the Serpent and Rainbow and those type of movies, and we played with the Ouija board and we did stuff like that. So they knew, of course, and they would go out. We would go ghost hunting with them, right? And we would take them to different locations. But growing up, my mom was heavily into the dark arts, and she was heavily practicing. And according to my mom, my great grandmother was as well. But it was very undercover. I just heard stories about how my aunt, I think it was my aunt Karen, that was pronounced dead as an infant, as a newborn, and then I don't know what happened, but my mom said that they caught my grandmother in the room with candles lit, and my aunt Karen was fine after that. Or maybe she was very sick, and maybe she did die, but they brought her back, and she was very ill, and then my grandmother was caught in the room with candles, and then she was like it never happened. So I would hear stories like that, or like upon her death, how they found her, how she escaped out of the nursing home. And I'm from Ohio, so you have to understand the snow in Ohio back in those days was really bad. Now the snow in Ohio is not as bad as it used to be when I was a kid. But with climate change and weather change and everything, it's not as cold in the winters. But back then it was, and back then with my grandmother, it was really cold. So I guess she traveled miles, according to the story that my mom had said, when they found her, and she had went through barbed wire and everything, but not a scratch on her. and they found her froze to death in the snow. But she had gotten out because these dogs were like, I don't know, something to do with the dogs. The dogs were outside the window. These whatever she seen with these dogs, she followed the dogs, and then she passed away. Yeah. So that's all I know as far as like my great grandmother, that she also practiced. And she'd give you the shirt off your back, but never double cross her because she'd beat the fuck out of you on the street, right?
Okay.
She was that kind of and this is an 80-year-old woman. She would be taking you down on the street. She's Irish. I'm German, Scottish, and Irish. Predominantly German and Scottish, right? But I do have Irish, right? My great grandmother's name is Fitzpatrick, so it's Irish as you get. And I have a little Indian, but please don't ask me the tribe. I don't remember. If my mom was still alive, she could tell you, but it's not going to happen. But there's a teeny bit of Indian, but predominantly that. But yeah, no, it runs in the family. So I kind of grew up that way.
Okay.
So it wasn't really a calling. It was always just something that was par for the course, to do something magically, whether it be doing the Ouija, doing seances, or my mom and I conjuring up a spirit. I mean, I don't think that there isn't too many parents, I think, that would condone it. And trust me, we were in the Baptist church too. We were all about going to church. But we were also all about doing anything that was witchy as well. So it didn't really matter.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
You kind of got lucky in the sense that you had a family that was open to things such as witchcraft and different sorts of spirits and all that good stuff, because I think one of the major problems, especially in this country, is we're so closed off to anything that's different or spooky, we'll say.
That's true.
And
That's true.
Unfortunately, it tends to it keeps us in this weird little box and bubble, and we miss out on so much.
Right. I always used to, when I was working at the cancer center, I always, and I still do, but I just don't have them on today, but I would always wear my pentagram ring. Without fail, always somebody would say, "Oh, is that Wicca?" And I'm like, "No." And they're looking at me like, "What?" And I'm like, "No, it's not Wicca."
It's not Wicca.
And I wouldn't say anymore, because we don't need to have that conversation, because then, they look at you kind of they give you the side eye, everybody go to give you that side eye.
Yeah.
They can't look at you ever again straight, or else they'll be.
So.
Well, that is going to get you in trouble.
So I don't know if you can really dive into this one too much, since, you were basically born into the craft. But, do you have any early mistakes that you may have made trying to conjure something up or manifest, and it's like, probably won't be doing it that way again?
Well, I don't know. Here's the thing. Okay. I don't know if I told you the story last time. Years, and we're talking 98, 99, 97-ish. No, 98, 99, 2000. I had gotten a spirit attachment attached to me. I don't know where it came from or what. I have no idea. I can't tell you what I was doing. That might have been something I did that was wrong back then. That might have happened, or it just happens. It's just par for the course, because when you're opening up the floodgates and when you're opening up the portals, essentially, and and then I wasn't doing any like bloodletting, as you want to say, like pricking my finger or giving any blood. So it isn't like, okay, well, if you were doing that, I didn't do that till I really started working with the demons, right? But back then, I was doing. And was I working? Let me see. At that time, because I went through so many different avenues, right? Like your life is ever evolving to kind of find your home. And at that time, in which I did a lot, was using your own energy rather than calling upon a deity, because Yeah, I had back in the day, right? I had the altar with the Pan and Diana. It was very much Wicca. But then I got away from that and I wasn't really using it just because I wasn't finding that it was fulfilling or doing what I needed it to do. And it just wasn't giving me what I needed spiritually to grow. And there was just too many, this threefold law and all this crap that I don't believe in at all. So, for the most part, throughout my entire time has always been using your own energy, and my mom was always the same way. She we didn't until we started practicing Santeria, and then went into Palo, and then ended up coming completely out of that. There was no real like deity structure, so there wasn't anything that I was calling upon. It was using your own energy, right? And just focusing and just putting your intent, your will, and that's the way it always was. But somewhere along the road, I picked up a spirit, and that spirit, it was, I seen it with my own eyes, just as a fluke. Around me in life, right? Things were kind of, they were kind of shitty, right? They weren't the best. They, it was like hard to get a job. It was like hard to do this or hard to that, and things were kind of a struggle. Um, so later on, as I found the person to remove it, uh I they told me that's what they do. They attach to you and they suck everything away because they get very jealous and they don't want anybody else in your life but them. So how I discovered it was, I'm sitting at my desk in the bedroom, and my bedroom was quite large, right? It was way bigger than this altar room is, and this is a pretty good sized room, but it was long. So I was up against a wall, and I had one of those tall mirrors that, it tilted like a dressing mirror, and I was sitting here on the computer, and I had dropped. Well, before I dropped something, I was just sitting there waiting for something to load. Back in the dial-up days, I was waiting for something to load on the computer, and I could see in the mirror something walked behind me. It looked like a human form, and it walked behind me, and it was, kind of, it startled me a little bit, right? And then I had dropped something, and when I leaned over to pick it up, I picked it up, and I sat up. But what I saw in the mirror was my image coming after. So I already, and then the image came after. I was like, what the fuck? So I knew right then, I gotta get this off. Like, I don't know what the hell this is. So I had searched through different Centeros and different, botanicas, and I found a Polaro. Helena was her name, and she lived in Hollywood. She's probably passed away by now. I'm certainly sure she was already in her 60s or 70s. And so my mom and I went over there. She couldn't speak a word of English, so she had to get a translator. We pulled the cards and all the stuff, and then we did what we needed to do, with her cauldrons, right? And the back of the house, you can't keep that in your house. Um, and I had to like do a series of baths with specific things that I had to do, and of course, I made sure I wrote all that down in my bucket shadows because I'm like, that's good information to know. All that little detail. Yeah. So I had to do a series of things myself, but I did initial stuff with her at her house, and then with the pots, the nagangas, and the prenda, whatever you want to call them, and her spirits, and then it was removed. But she was the one that actually had said that this is what these spirits do. They attach onto you, and they strip everything away from you because they want you for themselves. It's very, very odd. Where did I pick that up? I have no idea. No idea. Could have been part of any of the workings that I was doing, but then again, was just self. It wasn't working with the spirit or deity or anything like that. But that doesn't mean anything because, as you know, once you start doing magic, you're opening yourself up. It's like a calling card. Like, hey, I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah, like
So
how I
yeah, that
see
was
it,
that was that was kind of a scary moment.
how I see it, it's almost like you're a beacon or a lighthouse in the dark.
Mm-hmm,
You see that light,
mm-hmm,
you go towards it. So
Yeah,
that's how I like to see it from time to time. And
get true.
in a weird way, this a few years back when I was doing some research for something, I came across a website that was talking about succubus and incubus. And
Mm.
what you
Did you
described,
try to get one, Mel? Did you get
heck
one?
no, I'm not that freaky. No. um, but some of the people they described on there, the succubus or incubus would get very attached and would only want them for themselves. Like, no one else
Yeah,
can
yeah,
have it.
I heard about that.
And that's what you kind of reminded me of. Although I guess it wasn't
Right.
getting freaky with you, so you know.
No, 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 no. Wasn't getting freaky. But I have heard about that you have to be careful with that because they could get very jealous as well.
Yeah, jealous,
I heard that.
possessive.
I
It's-
don't know if that's true, but I have heard that.
yeah,
Jennifer could probably answer that one because she's in the chat.
yeah.
Hey Jennifer.
Jennifer,
Hey
go
Savannah.
tell
Hey
us.
John.
Is that true? And do you have experience?
Do you have experience with a succubi? And what is it? Is succubus is female, incubus is male? I forget.
Yeah,
I
succubus
don't know. I
female,
don't work with
incubus.
that. I don't even try to do that.
Okay, so that's not the road you're
But
walking
have
down.
you heard that they can get like if you start working with one, do they get attached to you?
She
Because
doesn't
that's
work
what
with
I've
them.
heard.
Oh,
That you have to be very careful because they can get very jealous if you bring in like you're working with them and then they keep draining that energy.
yeah. So that's what I heard. Like I don't know, but
Yeah.
when I went to that site, it was years ago, and it might still be up. It was I don't know. The people there were a little bit off, we'll
Yeah.
say, and
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's a lot there's some in the community that are a little off.
yeah. Uh, so, but I
Yes,
think
yes, exactly. See, Jennifer knows. That's exactly what I say. They get very jealous, especially when they've been working with you and then you suddenly bring in a real person as a partner and then they get very jealous. And that's when they can do damage. That's the sad thing. But at the end of the day, they are a spirit you can't control.
no, they're their own individual.
Mhm.
Uh,
It's kind of like magic, you put that energy out there. It's like you wanted to do one thing, but then it ends up doing something else. Like
or
you can't control the final actual outcome.
yeah, or you get what you want, just not how you wanted it.
Oh yes. Oh
Um,
yes.
the first person I ever had as a guest on the channel,
Mhm.
Vicky from where was she? Vicky's Wiccan World. She was telling me how she did some money magic. She needed money. It wasn't for
Mhm.
anything nefarious. She just needed it, and
Mhm.
she got what she wanted. However, she got it from a car accident.
Did she do it on a Saturday? Because that makes a difference.
I don't know. I don't recall what day. I don't even think she
Like
told
I
me what day
love
she did it.
Saturn energy. Like I love Saturn energy because you will get shit done, right? You will make things happen, but it comes very hard. So if you do money magic on a Saturday, oh yeah. And I'm doing money magic today, so everybody's gonna get their shit hard.
Now, what about breaking like a curse or bad luck or something like that on a Saturday?
Yeah, no, you can do that too, because Saturdays are used for that.
Okay.
Saturdays are good for dispelling, you know, hexing. They are good for money, right? So is Thursday, Jupiter. But Saturday's just a very harsh day. So yeah, if you were gonna do any type of um cleansing or breaking of a hex or curse, I would do it on a Saturday, just
Okay.
because it's more harsh and you want that
Yeah,
you want that snap, right? You want to
darn
snap that
yeah, snap it
right
to a
now.
slim jim. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
you want. Okay, so I'll make a mental note of that because I might be doing something later tonight. Maybe.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yep. No
Okay.
one will ever know what it is. Could be nothing, could be something. You'll never know.
Okay. Now, Mel, is this going to be your first time you doing magic? I've never heard you talk about you doing it.
I've done things with candles, but
Hmm.
just everything within my comfort zone. And speaking of comfort zones, do you think one of the reasons why people are reluctant to dive into the occult, will say, because they are afraid of failing and consequences that comes with it, because sometimes it seems like if you mess up, you get slapped pretty hard. It seems like it.
I think that, and also I think it's just when people tell you certain things or they instill some sense of fear, I think that will, and I'm not talking about Christian church. I'm talking about people in the occult, people that are there you're talking to. They instill this fear of you that this is going to get really bad if you don't do this right, or you're going to be damned forever. And it does stop you. And I speak from experience. It does really put a damper. I had an issue this week, at the beginning of the week, and it kind of what do you call it, faulted your plans, or I don't even know if it was a plan, because I hadn't even made that final decision yet. And Mel, you and I have kind of talked about it a little bit, so I think you know what I'm talking about, where I was hesitant. I wasn't sure if I was going to move forward in that. And then you're kind of like, okay, well, maybe I can do a little bit here, a little bit there, and just not test the water, but, create your own aspect. Because that's how I'm big on it too. Like, obviously there's rules and there's things you have to follow, but you also take your own version of it, or if you can, if spirit is okay with you to do that. If it's not, then it's not meant for you. And that's the thing. I don't know if it's meant for me, but this week was a little testing for me. I got caned for only because I was just showing off my a shop, right? And I wanted them to, like, other people to see what a beautiful, because I'm all about that. If I get something, like when I got my Belial statue, I was all about that. I made a video just to, and like my Lucifer, I have a small version. I have the taller one out on my Lucifer altar, but I have another small one over here on my demonic altar. Those people in Spain, I had to do that. And of course, I'm going to make a video on them, and they were very happy about it and whatever. But when I was showing my stuff, and I suddenly get people coming, and it's just, I don't know. I have a hard time where if I'm not allowed to say a word, and I can't be me, I'm not saying that I'm going to go out and say whatever, right, and talk about it. But if I can't speak, I feel like I'm being like pushed down, and no voice, and just like in a Christian church again, where if you do this, this is going to happen to you, and you can't do this, and you can't say that, and blah blah blah. And it just really felt like I was literally ripped from where my path that I was on. And it was like really bad. Like, I had a really bad emotional breakdown on Monday about it. And now I'm just like, okay, if something makes you shed one fucking tear, it ain't good. It ain't good. And that's even in life or relationships. Somebody makes you fucking cry, walk away. Walk away. It ain't fucking good. That's just a warning sign. So it's like, we all have these little moments that maybe spirit was warning you. And then you say, well, maybe no, it was just a test to see. But I don't know, I don't know. I'm still in that fence where, yeah. And Simona makes a good point, because I don't want to be a part of anything that feels like a freaking cult. I know things are supposed to be, hush hush, and it's true. I got my book of shadows here. I'm not going to open it up and tell you all my secrets of things in my life. I get it. And I wasn't about that either. But on the flip side of the coin, it's like, even speak it, it's like, you're just like ravaged, and I can't do that. No. So this week was a very trying week at the beginning of the week, and luckily it happened when it happened on. Was it Monday? No, it wasn't Monday. It was Wednesday. It happened Wednesday. Yes, it happened Wednesday. Yes, it happened Wednesday. So it's only been a couple days. So I'm still like,
processing
No,
it
I
and
don't
stuff.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It makes me pull back and rethink a lot about moving forward in that particular current, as you want to call it. It's very maybe it's just not right for me, you know. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because
that's all I'm gonna say about that. I don't know.
I know
I'm still on the
exactly.
fence. I'm still on the fence. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still on the fence, but I'm leaning more towards
Yeah,
the
I know exactly what you're talking because I remember the reading, the cards I pulled for you on stream, and it was like, oh, if you're
yeah.
gonna go in, go in. So it was that type of thing.
Right, right,
And
right. And then I learned that you didn't have to go all in on everything. So I was
yeah,
like, okay, maybe I can be in a more of a lighter mode to it instead of like all this, you know.
yeah,
But though my mom used to say there's more ways to skin a cat's ass than one. So maybe there's more ways to skin a cat's ass to get to where I'm trying to get to than to be just there. That way is not the only way. There's
yeah.
many ways. And I know
Plus,
that. I just got to explore the many paths.
plus, we can see it as a learning thing as well, because
Yeah.
you're still taking something away from it, no matter what. And
Oh yeah, definitely. Most definitely.
speaking of cats, Sweet Pea decided to join us. So
Sweet
she's
baby.
hold up. Say hi real quick. All right, that'll do.
Hi, sweet baby. Yeah,
Um,
kitty, 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 kitty,
oh, she can't hear you. And I do want to say hello to everyone who has joined us. It's quite a few of you, so thank you. And because it is so many, I'll give you the good welcome. So let's see if I can do this right, because I've been a little bleh.
Give them the good welcome. Say hi to everybody. Name their names. Name their names.
I will not name all the names, but everyone, welcome to Unexplained Possibilities.
Mel, you're missing your calling. You know what? I was just talking to Simona about that you would be really good at like one of the channels I love to watch on YouTube. It's Your Maker and like Mr. Nightmare. Mr. Nightmare stories, right? It's just like reading stories from like people that's written in about stuff that's happened to them that's like they almost got killed or whatever, like Tinder or Craigslist. Or like the Maker, or what's the other one? Oh, you make me pull this up, aren't you? Hold on.
Making you do work.
Made me do work. Hold on, I can tell you because my favorite, some of my favorite YouTube channels because I'm the deranged. I like to watch people murder, but I like to listen to 911 calls. I don't like to watch like true crime where they like do the
The
reenactment. No, 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 no,
reenactments, yeah.
no, no. I want to hear the real digs. I want to hear the real dig. So either like Mr. Nightmare, right? That would be the first one. Beyond Evil. These are channels I listen to. Watch, because they show like the what do you call it? The interrogation of the criminal.
Mm-hmm.
That's always really cool. And I think it's Maker, like you are. So yeah, Beyond Evil, Maker, and Mr. Nightmare. You would be like amazing. Because you have that voice, especially like Mr. Nightmare to tell the stories.
Yeah, you're not the first to say, Melvin, do narration, get into it, do something.
You just we gotta get people to send in their true stories.
Yeah, if you guys have any true stories, or even if it's made up, send them in. I'll read them. I don't mind if I have your permission anyway, because I don't want to hear like, you can't do that, and then have a lawsuit or something.
Yeah. We can always have them sign a waiver.
Yeah.
I can hook you up with that.
So going back to the reluctance of working with something, and people who are in the occult that say stuff, I actually, and I somewhat shared this when I had Curtis on. I had an experience with Belial, or Belial,
yeah.
as he calls him. And I've heard from countless people like, "Oh man, Belial's rough, and he's in your face, and it's gonna be a bad time." And it was completely the opposite for me.
Right.
Like,
right.
The little energy I felt was respectful, wasn't scary at all, and what I asked for, I got.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it seemed more like a hello, I'm so and so. And this makes me think that we project our fears onto them. Like they turn into what it is we see them as. And
I heard that. I heard that we magnetize. Like whatever we think, we create that. It's kind of like your self-fulfilled prophecy stuff where if you think you're cursed, you will be cursed.
yep.
But it's kind of like if you think or you assume this is what's going to happen or you go in fear, they're going to show you fear. It's like a dog that knows you're afraid will end up biting. That's what I heard. But I will say I had my first encounter with Belial. So mind you, I haven't been working years with the demonics. I tried years ago, back in the late 90s, okay, and I was doing the Aleister Crowley workings of the Goetia, which is impossible things to get. But here I am struggling, trying to get things that just don't exist, at least in the state of California. And and to get is impossible. So, I tried and then it was just, oh God, it's overwhelming. It's kind of like the tarot. It's just overwhelming. And then it went to the side and I was doing my back to plan A, right? And then recently, last couple of years, I just, first I'm like, oh God, it's kind of like scary, but it's exciting. Scary, but exciting. It's kind of like a train wreck you can't turn away from. It's awful, but I got to see. I want to see. So then I started getting into it. And my first ritual that I did with Belial was actually for my friend Sherry and Danny, who Sherry has passed away. She passed away last year in April. But my first ritual that I did with him was for her and him to get an apartment, to move, because they could not move out of their house to save their soul. They looked everywhere for years and it was coming to the end where they needed to go. And they just couldn't find anything. So when I did the ritual, I said, you know what? Let me try Belial. Let's try. And I sat right here. I have my bowl and I got my burn, and I'm focused on this sigil. And you hear the stories, and so you're kind of like, I don't want anything bad to happen or whatever, but it's not going to happen to me. It's going to be fine. I'm doing it no matter what. I'm going in headstrong, right? Because I got to get this house for her, and so I'm calling upon him. I'm calling and I'm speaking my intention. I'm speaking my petition before I, put blood on the sigil and that. And all of a sudden, I feel like I would say a hand, whatever you want to call it, here and one equal on my back. So it was like that, right on my chest and one on my back. And it just squeezed me so hard, like it put the wind out of you. And it was like squeezing. And I just kept speaking when I needed to speak. I wouldn't stop. And so I was like, I'm not even going to show an ounce of fear, even though, oh my God, I could feel it. And so as I kept speaking, I felt it release. And then I literally felt, I'm not good at to actually see spirit. I will catch things out of the corner of my eye, but if you ask me, have I ever manifested where I see something? Hell no. But I can hear them. I hear the walls or something will crack, and the floor will crack, and I know that they're there, or I feel like it's almost like somebody standing behind you, and you feel that on you. But that particular time, it was complete compression. And after I kept speaking, I could feel him release, and I knew I could sense it. Like he's right over there in the corner. He walked right over there, and huge, and just freaking stood. And I just kept going, and I finished, and that was it. Within 6 weeks, they found their new home. Wow. But that was my first incident with Belial. And I will tell you, ever since then, I've never had another incident like that. I'll feel his presence, like that they're in the room, right? So when I'm calling upon the four, I'll call, sometimes I'll do like a circle, right? Call Lucifer, Azazel, Astroth, Belial. I like to call them four for the north, east, west, south. And even if I'm working with one of them as the single, I don't do that all the time. It just sort of, sometimes I incorporate it, especially like on full moon rituals, I'll do that. But I've never had that incident like that. However, I did work with, for the first time, Rosier, and Citri, and I felt both of them right here. And then I had, recently I did a Marbus, a ritual to Marbus and Raphael. And I think I did it for right before I went in for my brain MRI that I had, because I've been having those heartbeats in my ears. So I did a ritual with Marbus and Raphael. And while I was calling on Marbus, I felt him like completely like pass through me. I felt him pass through me. Like he stayed, and I got like weird in my eyes a little bit. And I felt like it came like out. That was like a weird sensation. I didn't ask for that. I've never done like a invocation with possession. I guess if you truth be told, I'm a little nervous for that one. That one makes me nervous because what if things go wrong? I think of that. I know I shouldn't feel that way, but I'm here by myself. It's just me and the cats, and unless the cats are going to get me down off the ceiling,
A few years ago now, and I've spoken about this a few times, but a few years ago now, like I felt various entities decide to visit. It certainly wasn't from me asking them to show up. It was because of someone else who worked with them. They were on the edge, and I definitely felt, because I don't see anything. I'm pretty freaking oblivious. Part of it, I believe, is because I'm too grounded, and it's just like I'm in my own world. But I felt the energies of Astroth. I felt the energies of King Payman. That one was crazy because
I tried to call upon King Payman, and he never bothered to come. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's just the bad timing.
Well, he certainly came over here. Like, I'll never forget that. It was like 2 a.m., 2 or 3 a.m., and all of a sudden, like, I hear drumming outside, like a drum line. And then fireworks just go off. I'm like, what the heck? And I'm speaking to the person. They're like, oh, that's so-and-so. Like, he likes making an entrance when it's loud. And so, like,
yeah, that's what I heard.
You're like, boy, it's past 2 a.m. I felt that energy. Lilith is not scary for me, but just weird, because that one was very hypnotizing to the point.
I've never called upon Lilith.
I didn't either.
I've never called, and I heard that you're not supposed to. She's supposed to come to you.
She certainly came to me, all
That's
right.
what I heard, because she can be quite,
Yeah. So
yeah, she comes to you. It's on her terms. It's not yours.
Yeah. So she was very, very hypnotizing, and I can't. It was weird. That one was weird, but she got banned from the premises thanks to
Pearl. I remember you telling me that. Yeah. That's pretty crazy that Pearl could ban Lilith.
Yeah,
Lilith's like a badass.
Yeah, and Lilith has showed up before the banning several times.
Yeah.
I felt her for whatever reason. She took an interest in me. And but I guess it's like, no, you're no, go away. Alpha Draconian has an interesting question for you. Do you give offerings?
I do. I have a full altar. I have an altar to Belial. I have an altar to Lucifer. I have an altar to a lot of Marbus, and because I work with Marbus a lot, and Malphus. Pazuzu, I have an altar for him as well, and Astro.
Now, Pazuzu,
yeah, I work with a lot, so I constantly give things, and specific ones have more of my time, like Belial and Lucifer. And then of course recently Hecate. She has an altar, but she can't be in here in this altar room. She has to be separate because the altar room it's all a lot of Santa. Even though I have the demonics, it's predominantly Santa Muerte.
Uh,
You've seen the little video. I think I sent you for the EVP that I picked up,
Yep.
right? Did you hear that EVP?
Yes, I did.
I don't even have to be drawing. It just shows up while I'm in the middle of filming. There it is. Even when I'm shooting my videos and I'm editing them, and I don't really watch them a lot. I just know where, like, say I have to turn the camera down, if I'm moving it this way or move it this way, for my little, I put a spell on you. So I'll just go to that section, and then sometimes I catch it. But I don't know what possessed me to go back and watch the video that I sent to you. I just went back. I think I just wanted to see how it looked on camera. And that's when I heard that EVP. I didn't know that was there. I honestly didn't know. And I already sent that video out.
And Alpha Draconian, to be fair, I didn't invite her over. She showed up on her own. And it was Pearl that didn't want her. I was just indifferent. So I will never reject a woman, like, come my way, ladies.
Yeah.
You all like
this
this
no, because Lilith is, she's come, and I think you kind of have to work with her, right?
Yeah, so
isn't that the way it is? I don't remember.
Yeah, well, either way, it wasn't going to happen. Now, you mentioned I Put a Spell on You, which is one of the series that you're doing on your YouTube channel from the Cauldron Witch, which I really like. I always miss them when you're doing the premiere, but I always watch the replay. And
where are you on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m.?
I'm probably eating breakfast or writing, and it just slips my mind. Because here's the thing.
Just turn it on. Just turn it on.
No, here's the thing. I'm never signed in on YouTube. Like, I'd never keep myself signed in on anything. It's a weird paranoia I have. And because of that, I don't get the
notification. Set your alarm clock.
I don't use an alarm. I wake
up on your cell phone.
I don't know how to use this thing. I never use it.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. I promise you, I do not.
You are technically good. Like, you know how to do all this. Then you can do
bumble around with this stuff. Just give me a hammer. No, work. No. But the I Put a Spell on You. It really is a good series, and I will say it is magic made simple. What got you wanting to do that?
I wanted. There's a lot of people that show little, like, their spells, like, but kind of like they're really doing the spell. But I'm like, I don't want to do that. I have a hard time. And I know I have to get over that, but I don't like to show, like, sitting there and doing something for somebody, like a client. And I know there's people that do, and I have a hard time showing that. I feel like it's just, I don't know what it is. I get very, like, oh God, I should be cringy, right? I shouldn't be doing this. But I was thinking, well, I have a bunch of books that are old, that some of them you can't even get anymore. And some of them are, like, worth $800, like that one book, the first one that I did. I think it was the legendary book Spells. That's worth $800 now. That little thing, right? So I was like, well, what if I took, like, simple spells from those books that you could buy on the street or Amazon, whatever, and just put them out, and obviously I give credit to the person that did it. I show the book, and, you can get it on Amazon, whatever, and this is the little spell, from the book. And I try to pick ones that are super duper easy, super duper simple, because I don't think a lot of people have an arsenal of herbs like I do, like all that and all that and all that. And or candles, like, I've got every type of candle you can imagine. Speaking of, I need to order, and remind me, Mel, I need more vagina candles. So please make a note when you get a chance. I need more red vagina and probably some white vagina too. Yeah, so please write that down. Okay.
What a mix.
Pick up vagina.
Well, that's all we got for you. Bye, folks. I'm out.
Bye. Peace out. Yeah, so I don't think a lot of people have that kind of stuff like I do. So I'm like, okay, well, let's just pick spells that you could take from your kitchen or that don't even require herbs. It may just be an incantation or maybe, something super simple. So something simple to do. And there are a few that I've done out of there because obviously sometimes I go ahead and I do them and along the way, right? Other times I draw like a little fake picture or whatever, but there's sometimes I do them and there's some that actually have been very beneficial. Very beneficial.
Now, you are 100% right on people not having everything. I'm one of said people. I won't, gosh, in October, no, it's before October. In September, I was actually trying to do something with Freya, which I also got what I asked for, but what I did was get 4 pink candles because I devoted the entire month to her, and I would do whatever on a Friday, her day, and
Okay.
and I didn't really have anything else. So this is like the dictionary meaning of low magic. What I had was my cat, which I was like, oh, cat hair, cat nails. You can do that, like the shedded nails and stuff. I was like, okay,
Okay.
I can do that. I have some fruit here and I have chocolate, not talking about myself for once. So it was like, all right, I could do this as an offering. And
I can make a comment right about there, but I'm not.
Thank you. So that's what I did.
Lay it out.
That's what I did for Freya throughout whichever month it was, and yeah, I got exactly what I was trying to get and intended for, which was really really cool. And and I would literally wake up at 2 a.m. every Friday just to like, okay, you're the first person I'm going to speak to in this morning, this new day. Like, this is my devotion. We're doing this. So
yeah.
But but Magic Made Simple, I've put a spell on you. It really is a good series. So I hope you keep going for a very, very long time.
Aw. Yeah, you know what? I have one more episode before I got to reshoot. So maybe tomorrow I'll shoot some more episodes. I try to knock out like 3 or 4 in a day, and that'll get me for another month or so, So maybe tomorrow I'll shoot some episodes. I am going to try to be live tomorrow morning on my tarot page to do my tarot. So I'll try to do that tomorrow. And speaking of, Phoenix wants to come up and say hi.
Phoenix!
Here he comes. There he is.
Actually have to make sure Sweet Pea does not see him. I have a racist cat. She hates black cats. So,
oh, well, it's okay.
Yeah. Well, she's knocked out sleep, so we're all good. Hi, Phoenix.
Phoenix, he wants a treat. Okay, sit over here. But yeah, no, sometimes the most effective spells are the most simplicity spells, like the most simple ones. Not every spell has to be complicated and big and long and drawn out.
Yeah, and do you think that's where some people make their mistake? Because I've noticed this, and I'm not trying to, throw dirt on Malice or anything, but he said that he feels like he has to, when he's doing ritual work or whatever, he feels he has to be complicated and go bigger and bigger each time, where I think sometimes simple and simpler is better because, number one, you're getting to the point. And
yeah, right. And if you're ceremonial, then you enjoy that, and I mean, setting up and preparing for a spell, I enjoy it, but I'm not a super ceremonial type of a witch. In my practice, I'm not all about the big multiple candles all around. I mean, I feel like that's more of a stage production for me personally, and it's just can be over draining than just like, but you spend a lot of time prepping and setting up, and you're not supposed to just throw it and wham bam. But I have thrown things in wham bam and they've worked just fine. If when shit gets real and you got to get stuff done, you're gonna get stuff done.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You know You know, Mel.
So, because I like to think that I'm pretty practical usually,
Hmm.
and I also I don't know. I get the show aspect when it comes to doing things. I get it. I understand.
Right,
And sometimes it is empowering because you are becoming that magician or wizard, witch, sorcerer, sorceress, whatever you want to call yourself. And you do want to get into that mindset where you feel that
right,
power. But at the
right.
same time, it's like, well, maybe I already have the mindset. I already I'm already in the zone, and I feel that what I'm going to do, it's
Hmm.
going to work. I don't need
Well, yeah,
to.
you can't
Yeah.
go in with that mindset that I don't know if it's gonna work. If you're already there, don't do the damn spell. You're already doubting your work, and you always have to live your end result. I always tell people you have to live the end result. Live it like it's already happened. If you're like, oh, hasn't happened, it will happen. It just isn't going to be on your terms. It's not going to be how you want it to be. I can guarantee you that. And have working with so many clients, there's some that have manifested pretty damn quick, instantaneous, and there's some that it just takes time. And sometimes some people say, well, spirits don't think like humans or put priority. But I beg to differ that because I have had instances where people have been sick and in the hospital and having a rough time, and they did a complete turnaround. The next day they were off like the feeding tube and whatever's. Like I have a long-term client that I had her. Well, I didn't have her. She wrote me an email and her text message, whatever. And I said, "Can I put this up on my?" He was like really cool, right? I don't like to put a lot of reviews up. I'll take whatever somebody had put on my Etsy shop when I used to be really big on my Etsy, and that's where all my stuff was. Now that I have my website, it's different. Etsy's kind of went to the web wayside, and to be fair, they charge so much for their percentage rates. Just go to my website and purchase. It's kind of like me. Mal, if you had super chats, I would never give you super chats for the simple fact that YouTube takes 30%. And why am I going to allow YouTube to take 30% when I'd rather give you a tip through PayPal where they only take 3 or 4%, right?
Mhm.
So it's just common sense. But this particular case with this woman, her daughter was in the hospital, and she had messaged me, and she was all frazzled, and she ended up in the hospital because she started having her epileptic seizures because of all the stress and her daughter being in the hospital, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with her, and she had put her on a feeding tube and all this stuff. And I was like, give me her name and her date of birth. And when I get home, because I'm working my day job. I keep my day job because I never wanted to rely upon spiritual work to make a living, just because sometimes things are good and sometimes they're bad. And I could quit my day job, but I have like an insecurity, like a security factor. I gotta have something consistent, and this is something that I enjoy. It's kind of like, I don't want to call it a hobby, but I'm passionate about my work. So this is not like a dependability of a job for me. It's something that I enjoy. Um, so I was at work at that time when she told me, and I was like, give me your name, give me your date of birth. I'm going to do something when I go home. So I came home, and I think I worked with Raphael. I worked with Raphael that night. And the next morning or throughout the night, they took her off the feeding tube, and she was released at the end of the day the next day. So people say that spirits maybe not have the same mindset as us, but I sometimes think, damn, sometimes they do prioritize what is priority. Because I can be working on somebody getting dick, right? They're trying to bind the man because, oh, they got to have just that one penis. They can't, there's all these penises, like Simona says, 18 million penises in the world, and you want this one piece of shit, right? So you'll be working this love spell that's like dragging their ass, but and get little pieces, but you do a healing for something that needs to be done like now because somebody is like a life-threatening manner, and it happens like now. So I think I question if spirits actually have like a brain thought as to our thinking, putting things in priority of what is more important, someone in their health versus someone's penis, right? I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know.
I
I've seen it so many times in my magical experience, and especially since I started taking on clients, I see it more. Before, I just do magic for myself or for friends, and mainly just for me, right? It was always just mainly for me. But it wasn't until 2019 that I opened up that floodgate and started taking on people, just because I was tired of people asking me questions. Well, how do I do this? When I create a jar and send it, I'm like, screw it. What if I did it myself? But I do feel like they somewhat have discernment of what's important and what's not important. I mean, it's important to get the penis, right? It is important, but it's kind of like this is more important because this is someone's life.
I want to say that it also depends on what spirit you're working with. For instance, you're not going to ask Raphael, "Hey, help me get laid." I mean, he might be a wingman and say, "All right, bibbity bobbity boo."
Yeah,
I doubt
yeah,
it, but versus some horn dog like Pan, you know,
yeah,
Pan
yeah,
might,
yeah. True,
he
true.
might say meh, for it,
Yeah.
So I think it depends on the entity itself at
Yeah.
times, and
Yeah, true. Because I've worked with healing with my Santa Muerte,
mm,
a lot with her, and things were pretty damn instant as well. Pretty instant. Yeah, and certain I can name names. Even Simona, we know we have a mutual friend that things cleared up almost instantly with her, with Santa. And Lucifer I actually worked with actually Simona's dad, and that was an interesting experience, that I didn't predict on that one. I don't know if I think I might have told you privately, but I've never told that story um, publicly about my experience with that, because it was Lucifer who was the one that was showing us that her dad was ill, and we didn't see it. Like, well, I saw it in the tarot, and I said, something's wrong with your dad, right? And she checked, and then he was fine. and then like a month later, that's when shit started hitting the fan. And then I was doing my dedication to Lucifer, and I happened to look up in the process of me speaking, and I have that, the big poster above. If you're on my Instagram, you know what I'm talking about. And also, I think in maybe a YouTube video, I have the big poster that I have of the statue that I have made back there. And when I looked up, there was a spider that was up on his rib cage, and I was like, what the hell? And I stopped speaking to Lucifer, and I'm like pressing on the poster. I'm like, what? And it's not pressing, it's not smushing, it's not going away. It's like inside, but you ain't even smashing it out. So I had taken a picture and I sent it to Simona, and she had come over later, and then we were looking at it, and she was like, oh, like, is that like the liver? I said, actually, it's like the pancreas, stomach area, because it's on the opposite side, not the right side, it's on the left side. And and then she had said, like, oh, I guess we're gonna find out. I said, yeah, time will tell what that means. And then it ended up, her dad had a tumor on his pancreas. He had pancreatic cancer, and for some reason, because I was shown by Lucifer, I was like, well, could you do a ritual with Lucifer for healing? Could I work with Lucifer for healing? Is that even something that he does? Right? Because it's always like Raphael or Santa Muerte. But what about Lucifer, since he was the one showing me? So I started Googling while I'm at work at the laboratory. I started Googling just see healing with Lucifer, just see if anybody has ever done. While I did that, while I was doing that, and at that time, my coworker was there. It's before she was fired, and she's in like another cubicle. She's away from. She's weird. She was a weirdo. She didn't even know. Nobody knew, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there, and I could see through my eyes. It was the weirdest shit. I've never experienced this. I could see through my eyes like a torso, just a torso, no head, just like here, right? And I was like totally like scanning, and I could see through my eyes this torso all up and down, right? And in the meantime, I'm crying. Anytime that I have like in the presence of spirit, when it's really thick, like when it's in the moment, like when it's